This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Every conversation with her is an eye-opener. We learn so much about why we do what we do in many different situations. And as we've revealed many times in the past, it starts in the subconscious mind. You're not even basically aware of, of why we do what we do. Today, we're going to take a look at all that negative stuff that's floating in your subconscious and essentially, layman's terms here, put it into the conscious part of your mind so that you can work with that and make that transformation. She does that for many as a Reiki therapist. She's an intuitive guide, interfaith minister, pastoral counselor, transformational speaker. She is holding the keys to your mind and your happiness. That's the way it works. I'm telling you. Chris Clearday, our professional of the year, is back with us. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Ready to dig in. It's funny, every time we get together, hours later, I'll be driving and I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. This stuff like reverberates in my mind
Yeah.
because it's so important. And we really don't realize what's going on within our minds. We talked about that before. Can we go back to the last time we get together and the gatekeeper that's in our mind, in our brain?
Yes. Okay. And I have to clarify something. Like, I don't hold any keys. Each of us holds our own keys, but I just
Well,
kind of
okay,
help
so
put the key.
I'm going to clarify what you said right
Okay.
there, that you tell us where to find the keys.
Yes, I help you put the key in the door. I mean, we just all need a little help, support, partnership.
For sure.
So today's the 19th episode, and we've had about a month off. So in the interim, in several weeks ago, we were talking about basically whatever takes up the most space in your brain is ruling your life. And it's not just ruling your mind, it's ruling your body and your spirit. So it's creating your outlook and your inlook. So bringing forward to the last podcast that we had, we explored the concept that the gatekeeper that's in our brains is often asleep on the job. And therefore, it passively allows negative, or let's even say unproductive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to creep in through the realms of the subconscious and unconscious, like the back doors of your mind.
Hmm.
And so we've been steadily working towards identifying the culprits, okay, the negative, disempowering thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are making us miserable. So today our goal really could be to actively endeavor to transform the unconscious and subconscious negative patterns, bring them into the realm of the conscious mind, which is, as you stated, like where we can actually work with them.
So before we talk about how to get that done, you said a moment ago how there's a big part of our subconscious that's really piloting us.
Mhm.
How do we know what's taking up the most space? You said that, taking up the most space. How do we know? Because I'm thinking about that myself. Like, I'm aware of certain things
Uh-huh.
and why I think a certain way in certain situations, et cetera, et cetera. But how do I know if that's taking up the most space?
Well, identify what your predominant mood is, and that'll
Is,
that'll
do you
be
mean on a changing basis or just in general?
in general.
Okay.
Yeah. If in general, you notice that you're cranky, that tells you a lot. Some people um, go around and they just believe that they or other people are just moody. Well, no, they're not just moody, they're wounded.
Hmm.
Um, and so identify your primary mood. If your primary mood is optimistic and joyful, then you're on the right track. If it's not, then there is something in your way. And let me just give a disclaimer, okay? I'm not talking about if you're in a war zone, okay? I'm talking about, and I'm also not talking about if you're experiencing extreme trauma, poverty, homelessness,
Yep.
or if you're going through a major upheaval in your life. I'm don't want to victim blame. Okay.
Yeah.
But our
Yeah.
goal is to really get as conscious as we can under any circumstance.
And do you also, final question before we jump in further in getting this accomplished, making these transformations, that if you're mostly a positive person, things are good. Maybe you weren't, maybe you got to that point. Um, but stuff comes up. I mean, it's just like, just in a low mood today. I don't know. Just like that didn't go my way. That didn't. It'll all work out. It's okay. But you're just in a mood. Is that normal? Is that okay?
Well, it's pretty normal, but it's not ideal. It's normal and it's okay. However, it's pointing you to something. Like if you're just meh, then that's telling you that something needs to be worked out, so that you can become unmeh, so
Gotcha.
that you can become more positive and feeling more centered and grounded. It's all a matter of who you are in your true nature. And then we'll just go back. So remembering that our true nature is who we were actually designed to be before we had life. When we had the spark of life in our mother's womb, we were we were given all of our unique gifts, special ways of being. We didn't have any wounding, trauma, or conditioning because we hadn't acquired it yet. And we were just perfectly imperfect, but we were ourselves. And then life happened and we got away from it.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
question is how to get back to that. And one of the ways to get back to that is to recognize those imbalances, which I would say everything comes up to be healed. So those are messages from our true nature telling us that we're not in alignment. That could be anger, jealousy, um, grief, fear. It could be anything,
Yep.
taking
Yep.
things personally, whatever it is. For every person has their own unique individual way of suffering.
And thank you for saying that again. That's one of the things that I will never forget that you said a while ago. When stuff comes up, when memories come up, it's because your brain, your subconscious is saying, "Hello, I need to be healed from that." So that would make sense if you just, you have a meh day. Yeah, things happen. I would think that if you're in a good place, you can reverse that ASAP, as opposed to just sitting in that kind of mood. Again, life is life. Things are going to happen in front of you. Not every day is going to be, I got a flat tire. I got a flat tire. That's fantastic. I'm so happy now. Oh, hope it happens tomorrow. No,
Right.
you're going to like, all right, but do you sit in that for a long period of time, or do you fix the tire and then move on?
Right. And we're definitely not farting rainbows here. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for the real. Thank you for the
yeah.
real.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if your car breaks down or, other things happen, like that is unfortunate. It's going to take you a little while to deal with it and find the silver lining. I find that there are pretty much silver linings in everything.
I
So
agree.
any breakdown can be turned into a breakthrough. We just have to be committed to making that happen.
I agree. And I found in doing some of this work, using your insight, that when things present, you could get frustrated. It's normal, but you see how you can get around it. Now, you may say, I got to do that. Like that, I wasn't planning to do that, but I have an out. I have a solution, and I'll move past it. Maybe, the flat tire in the middle of traffic. I really don't want to get my clothes dirty and done, but I got to go through it. But once I get through it, we're gonna be okay. But you
Mhm.
see, you see the light. You see the light, as opposed to
Right.
what next is going to happen. And then it seems to me that that's something that's coming up.
That's a good point. It's always you're always going to find what you're looking for. So if you're holding positive and you're like, okay, I know I can make it through this. This is just a bump in the road, so to speak. Then you're going to have a better outcome than if you're going into the negative mindset of why did this happen to me? Things like this always happen to me, and then you're going to hold that mood for longer
Sure.
and not and you're obviously not oriented towards finding the silver lining. Like Silver linings are not magic. You have to look for them and then you have to create them. They don't just appear. That would be farting rainbows. Like we have to do the work to turn, tragedy into triumph. And we all are experiencing, lots of little tragedies, and big tragedies, but it takes work to turn them into triumph.
So let's get to work. We
Okay.
talked about transforming the subconscious, unconscious part of your mind and putting it into the conscious part where you're aware of it. What do we do?
Okay, well, there's a long list of do's and don'ts. I'm going to focus on the don'ts, and then the do's will become obvious. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of your preconceived notion of who you think you are. So this is kind of hard to do, okay? Because we know ourselves, or at least we think we know ourselves, but we know ourselves as the wounded parts of ourselves that we so often are. We have gotten away from our true natures, and we generally don't know ourselves as our true natures. And so if you're going to really stick with your own preconceived notion of who you are, you're gonna cut yourself short. You're gonna block yourself from seeing who you really are, and that is what you're really thinking, feeling, doing, seeing, saying. And we often give ourselves a pass when we're on autopilot.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of courage to question our reality. So that's one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So
True.
maybe we could say, like, let's try to unknow ourselves. Like, if we think we're always happy, yet we are bitching at our children, like maybe we take a second look. Or our partner, spouse, parents, whatever it is. Okay, there's something going on underneath the surface that we want to allow to rise to the surface. Those little snipers, they're the offenders. We want to let them rise up instead of squashing them down. So don't be afraid of what you've noticed. So, like, if once we allow them up, that might be concerning. Oh, I'm having a lot of negative or disempowering thoughts and feelings, possibly behaviors.
Hmm.
So, just notice that these thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are negative or disempowering, they inherently don't hold any power over you other than the power that you have given them. So this really fascinates me because, we can always take our power back from these things that we've given our power over to. We gave our power over to them.
Hmm.
They didn't, they don't have it over us.
When you say them, just for clarity for all, what's them?
Negative thoughts, feelings, and behaviors,
Just checking.
or
Okay.
disempowering thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Hmm. Hmm. And unfortunately, said before in previous podcasts, a lot of us are addicted to suffering. So we like being in that. We don't, but we do because it's familiar.
It hurts so good because it's familiar, and we get into that old space that we felt when we were children, where it was either nobody loved us or nobody understood us or nobody supported us, whatever it was.
Sure.
And we can suffer in that space.
Or
Um,
or or we feel we don't deserve to feel good.
yes,
Right.
simultaneously. Yeah.
Right. 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 Hmm.
And so a lot of times it's hard to notice these things. Like it's hard to so that you can take your power back because you can't take your power back until you can get real with what's happening in there.
Hmm.
And I mean, I see in myself that was a challenge to do, but to get to a more joyful state, it's necessary. So, next would be don't judge yourself because judging yourself is going to skew your perception. So you might think, oh, I'm a terrible person because XYZ. Because I'm not taking care of myself, or I'm not nice to my whatever friends, or I have an eating disorder, whatever it is. No, you're not a terrible person. You just have some things that need to be healed. These are old wounds The only reason these exist is because of wounding, and most of it is early childhood wounding that is carried forward. Um, and that'll lead me to the next, which is don't believe everything you think or feel or see, perceive, or say or do as the truth. Don't believe it. You can explore it, you can re examine it with an open, conscious mind, but don't believe it. So you have to question your reality. We lie to ourselves all the time, Steve.
Mm, mm. This, to me, this is the one of the more challenging parts of this work on yourself, where how do you know what is real and what is not? And how do you, therefore, how do you question it?
I mean, that's a great question. I would say look to your mood. So maybe write down, I would think it's always best to write these things down. Write down what's your mood. What mood do you struggle with that is unpleasant or that you impose upon other people that is unpleasant? And sometimes you can even ask other people. I mean, be careful who you ask. Because you might get feedback that is just not accurate because other people are looking at you through their own lens. Like you have to be careful in family systems. In my own family, there's a whole story about who I am that is completely untrue. Only in one side of my family. So that's good. But you have to be careful who you ask. And and you just have to be very brave and courageous to re-examine yourself. What are the results you're getting? Look at your results. If you're not getting the results you want, then you are doing something that is not in your best interest, or
Mm.
feeling a certain way, or thinking certain thoughts, because your thoughts are always going to lead to your feelings, and the combination of your thoughts and feelings will always lead to your behaviors.
Should we always be keeping our thoughts in check? We take it for granted. We just going moment by moment, day by day. Should we really essentially be checking in?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, I had on my coffee maker like a little post-it note, internal check-in every morning. Yes, we should be checking in and not taking ourselves for granted and not making assumptions about ourselves. And then I would really say also not making assumptions about other people and not taking other people for granted because we have never walked a day in their shoes. We do not know what trauma they have dealt with or been subjected to, and we don't know the torment that they're in, whether they're doing it to themselves or not. If they're doing it to themselves, that's one thing. It might be because someone else tormented them in that way first.
Either way, they're still suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
And then another thing we can do is to not take our pain so personally. So if you were to over identify with your own pain, then you would be more likely to internalize it and embody it. And then you would be more likely to perpetuate your own sickness or your own suffering because these things get internalized into our bodies, our minds and our spirits. And so if you were to notice that you're sad or angry, afraid, ashamed, whatever, then don't let noticing it make you feel more like it. Okay. It's only there to guide you to healing because everything comes up to be healed. So you would not want to over identify with it and let it tank you. You would simply want to notice it neutrally, non-judgmentally, so that you can say, oh, this is the state that is unpleasant. And if I don't hold it against myself, then I have a much greater chance of working through it.
So just because it's coming up or you're seeing it doesn't mean it's the true reality. So don't grab onto it and say that's who I am. No, it's just the perception of who I am.
Yes, good point. It's the perception, who you are and who each of us is our true natures. And that is a beautiful state of peace and and love and trust. So Yeah, we're not who we think we are. I guess would be a good way to say
Hmm. Point. Um, I don't want to run out of time. We got a lot to talk about here. I don't think we're going to get to our whole conversation planned here, but
it.
what's next on the list that
Okay, well, next on the list would be don't resist your pain, embrace it. And I'll define embracing, but pretending, denying, avoiding,
yeah.
and suppressing pain guarantees that it will perpetuate. Okay, it's a life insurance policy on suffering. Now, Carl Jung says what you resist persists. I believe that. Now, I say what gets stuffed down must come back up, and it will come back up. The question is when. And also that resisting your pain conceals your opportunities to heal it. And there's a lot of suppression in the world. Like, it does not feel good to allow these things. However, embracing your pain means to allow it, welcome it, inquire into it, ask it questions. And here are some questions you can ask it, like, where does it come from? Who does it come from? A lot of times we're suffering with pain that isn't even ours. It's our mothers or our fathers, or grandmothers or grandfathers, aunts and uncles. A lot of times it comes from our family of origin.
Sure.
Um, when did it first begin? This is a particularly important question. And what caused it? Right? Go back to when you were 2, 3, 4, 5. What was a significant trauma that you remember, or that someone else has told you has happened to you? Because a lot of this comes from that wounding. So when did it first begin? What caused it? And then, really interesting, I think, where you start to turn the corner with these things is why is it still part of you? That right there is the most important question to ask. And then you can ask yourself, how have you perpetuated it? Because, if someone else does it to us first, and then we perpetuate it ourselves when we're children, unknowingly, okay? And then we can ask ourselves, how does it make us feel? Is it a feeling that reminds us of how we felt as a child? That's dysfunctional nostalgia, which we've talked about at length. It's where it hurts so good. We anchor into the feeling because it's so familiar. It never felt good, but it was familiar. And then we can ask ourselves, do we want to feel that way? That's a great question. Do I want to feel this way? Well, if not, then it's time to make a change. And lastly, what does this feeling or thought or behavior want us to know about ourselves?
Hmm.
And oftentimes, it just wants us to know that that's where the wound is. That's where we need to heal. And the embracing techniques takes a lot of courage, but it
Well,
is rewarding.
this is the cliche, but it sticks in my mind based on what you said a moment ago. You can run, but you can't hide. You can keep yourself busy and try to ignore and all of that, or just hang with the people that don't support you because you're just masking your pain.
Exactly. Yes, your pain is there for a reason. So listen to it. Listen to its answers, get to know it, learn from it. Because if you learn from it, then you can understand it. And once you understand it, you will be able to appreciate that it's been trying to get your attention. And it's been doing this for so long because your true nature has been sending it up to you in an effort to direct you to where and how you need healing.
Isn't it amazing how the mind works, where it wants to heal, but we get in our own way and prevent that from happening. But it's almost as if the body, sends you signals, tells you things, even your physical health. Your body will tell you, yeah, I got a problem over here. I'm whispering. Then it's going to get louder until you address it, and louder until maybe you have a chronic issue, disease, and all of that. Seems like it's the same thing within our minds. It keeps coming up because I need some help over here. I'm asking. I need you to help me heal.
Right. And it's interesting because let's say you hurt your shoulder, okay? Well, you might ignore it for a while until it becomes more painful and you finally have to do something about it, or your knee, whatever, your neck, whatever. But it's easier to notice the physical things. These emotional issues are oftentimes like a river that runs below our body that we're not even tapped into. And that's why we don't heal them. Also, we believe the trauma and we believe the negativity. We think
Oh.
we deserve to be depressed sometimes, or we deserve to feel like we don't deserve.
Fi-
And
Final question on that point.
yeah,
Is there a difference between we deserve to feel this way or we don't deserve to feel happy and joyful? Is it the same thing or are they different?
I think it's the same thing. I think if your mindset, if your subconscious mindset is I don't deserve to have a life I love, then it's the same as saying I deserve to suffer in the way that I'll be deprived of having the life I love. So I do think it's the same thing. Um,
Hmm.
and you know, our pain, like your shoulder pain, your knee pain, your neck stress, okay? It's just there to let you know that you need to work on something.
Yep.
The emotional things are exactly the same. And you're in the right position to heal it once you know that it's there, once you acknowledge it. And then honestly, if you can actually understand that this has been trying to come up for so long just to get your attention, just to help you heal, then you're in the right position to be grateful and to heal it. Because once you can think it, I really believe that you're much closer to being able to let it go as a patterned way of thinking, feeling, or behaving.
The grateful word, as much as we might not think it's impactful, when you say that right away, you reframe for me, that all right, life can suck,
Yeah,
but look at the good stuff and you're going to find it. Just like if you're looking for the negativity, you're going to find it. If you go searching, you will find. Well, then go searching for the good stuff.
right.
You're going to
Yeah,
find it.
you have to be a gold seeker. You
Yeah.
know, if you're gonna look for shit, you're gonna find it everywhere. And remember, we're trying to turn the shit into shiitake mushrooms.
Well,
So,
so funny you say that because I was just thinking you said silver lining before. There's a
mhm.
song from Panic at the Disco, came out like, I don't know, 5 years ago, and it's called, use F word, F a silver lining.
Uh-huh.
Only, and then the lyrics are, and it's a great song too. It's F a silver lining. Only gold is hot enough. So go for the gold.
It's
Yeah.
great. I love Panic at the Disco. Well, I think the bottom line is there's no shortcut.
Yeah.
Like the solution is to feel your feelings, face your thoughts, observe your behaviors, but do it neutrally and non-judgmentally so that you can let the messages from your true nature rise to the surface of your conscious mind so that you can work on them.
Being born, I can't imagine is easy. Going through the birth canal can't be fun. But when you get to the other side, and that's this, you got to go through it. You got to feel the feelings, but the beauty on the other side, wonderful life. Um, thanks for showing me the keys.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I think that, I can only imagine that when I was in the birth canal, I was like, my arms and legs were stretched out fighting.
Right? I don't want to come out of here. No, no, it's good here. But you know
Oh,
what? And when you're born, all right, after the slap and the uncomfortableness, you're perfect. You're blank and perfect.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Let's
that's
let's
the
go back to that.
closest. That's the closest to our true natures that we'll ever be.
Yeah.
First
Yeah,
of all,
because
in the womb with the spark of life, but then when we're born.
but now use that as now. You got to go through the birth canal again. And when I say rebirth, I'm not talking religion here. If you
Yep.
want to, you can, but it's the rebirth of you the way closest as possible to when you were first born.
Right. Rebirth and renewal all the way. And I think that we'll all get back to that. It's a state of grace and restoration. Probably when we take our last breath is when we get back to that who truly who we were meant to be. That's how I believe anyway. But But we can certainly endeavor to do that as much as possible during this one life that we're living right now to make the most of it.
Gotcha. ChrisClearday.com is where we find you. You're available to talk with anybody, kind of work through this. I mean it when I say thank you for what you do. And thank you for helping us understand what the hell's wrong with us. It's we all have it. We all go through it, but we don't know why. These are the keys to opening up the mind and figuring out what's going on there. And I always say everything is work, even the fun stuff. Planning good stuff this weekend. We're having a great time. You got to plan. You got to work. This is work too, but
Right. Well,
good
what's
work.
wrong with us is the key to finding out what's right with us because there's a lot that's right with us and we want to focus on that, but by embracing the what's wrong. And you're welcome and thanks for doing it with me.
Appreciate it. And appreciate you. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Bye.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.